Look out. Here come former SportsCenter anchor Bob Stevens, esteemed basketball coach Rich Basirico, and Hall of Fame sports writer Curry Kirkpatrick. And someone's going under the bus.
Welcome to Under the Bus, where three old guys who have seen a lot of sports and still love sports.
Absolutely.
But we just got to throw people under the bus. Brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks. You can find out more about this fabulous restaurant on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina at hudsonsonthedocks.com. And go there. Go to the restaurant, but go to the website first and find out what you're going to order so you can have more fun on the docks.
Lunch or dinner. Lunch or dinner.
Or dinner. Right on the docks. They caught the shrimp today. Right? They caught a lot of the other stuff today. They got the boats right there.
And cocktails, too.
And well, I don't know that, too. All right. We got to start. The easiest under the bus we've had in a long time is the U.S. men's soccer team and their coach, North Carolina guy, Gregg Berhalter, who could get sacked while we are doing this. I mean, it's going to,
as we speak.
For the 4th of July, I'm sure that's probably.
Poor guy. Listen, as the only panelist here who cares about our international audience, and the only panelist here who scored 4 goals in a high school game. You look it up. Well, you can't look it up, but anyway, he got 4. The quad or whatever. But anyway,
people were throwing hats and shirts on the field. You know, it was more than a hat trick.
I'm a soccer fan though. Yeah. Unlike the two of you,
I'm a general soccer fan.
General.
Okay. I mean, when these cups
I watched
come
a lot
up,
of both these tournaments. The Copa America and the Euro 24, whatever they call it. And this is the first time, of course, our national team lost to Uruguay on Monday night. They had to win the game to advance. It's the first time we've had one of these tournaments on our soil where we haven't advanced to quarterfinals. So it's a big negative for Berhalter and the team. The truth is, I think we lost this tournament not when we lost to Uruguay, 1-0, where we couldn't score a goal Monday night, but we lost it last week.
Oh, sure.
When we lost to, and Uruguay is a really good team. They won this thing 15 times, but we lost to a bad team in Panama. Yeah. And, in the 18 minutes in.
And they're keeping the canal.
And they call them the Canal Men. I love their name, the Canal Men. The Canal Men. They, but 18 minutes in, our guy, Tim Weah, W-E-A-H, he goes and wails on a Canal Man. Yeah. Not just once, not just twice, the third time. He went back to hit him a third time. Seriously, he'd gone away from him, then he went back, then he went back a third time. And he punches him in the face. I mean, and he gets a red card, so we're playing 10 against 11 for the whole rest of the game. And, we went ahead. Actually, we went ahead anyway. But then, it caught up to us, and, we lost. But this guy Weah, and he's been around. He's 24. He's played for Paris Saint-Germain. He's played for Lille. His father is the former president of Liberia.
Wow! But
of course, he's from Brooklyn, so it figures. I mean, it was.
He's been thrown under the bus already.
It was such a nonsensical foul, and so egregious. After the game, the national organization suspended him a game. Then they looked at it again. They suspended him 2 games. So he was going to not be able to play in the next game if we got through.
And we didn't.
Which we didn't.
Yeah, and so Berhalter's going to take all the heat for it.
Yeah, but why is that?
For coaching at 10 on an 11. Well, although he does deserve it for one thing. During the game, I understand, during the Uruguay game, he's telling the guys, we have to win by more than Panama beats Bolivia. Right. He's telling them the Panama-Bolivia score.
1-1. He's going 1-1. It's a 1-1 score. Well, that's ridiculous. You never would do that, right? Never would do that. But he's been criticized. He's been criticized for not being emotional enough, not being creative enough, and the team hasn't really progressed in the last few years, which sounds like your whole career, right?
Man, it's
I need to stop and introduce this group. I haven't even introduced this group yet. Curry Kirkpatrick, of course, Sports Illustrated legend. Rich Basirico, high school basketball coaching legend. Although that's about to get thrown under the bus.
30 years with all this criticism.
Why, as being a former coach, why is the coach being the one that's going to get fired? Why don't they fire the team?
Well, and Berhalter didn't go punch the guy in the face.
Right. Exactly.
He's the one who had to try to figure out how to win after they were down. Yeah.
Our stars, Pulisic and Reina, did not score in the game.
Maybe we get rid of some of our players.
Well, you got 1 point. But Berhalter, this is his second stint with the U.S. team. And when he was up for contract renewal, 4 years ago, they passed over a young guy that was up for it, a guy named Jesse Marsh, who was a Princeton player, Princeton coach, and he really wanted the job. They passed up him for Berhalter, and they gave the job to Berhalter again. Jesse Marsh, meanwhile, got the job in Canada, and he has Canada in the.
They're still playing, yeah.
Yeah, they're still playing, and they'll play, ironically, Panama on Saturday in the World Cup. But,
and probably beat them then.
So he might be, as you say, the knives are out for Berhalter. They killed him killed the U.S. announcers killed him. Alexei Lalas, murdered him, who's pretty consequential, and they said he's just not good enough, and we have to change. I don't know, but
maybe the players are.
They might get the guy Marsh. I don't know. It's a money thing too. Apparently, the U.S. Organization does not want to pay huge money to some one of these big European name guys. So maybe that's a part.
But you're as good as your players. You have to have good talent. This guy's proven himself in North Carolina. He's a terrific coach. Now all of a sudden he became stupid overnight. I mean, you have to have players.
Well, the poor guy, we're playing in Kansas City. We're playing at Arrowhead, right, the other night. And fans in the second half are screaming, "Fire Gregg, fire Gregg, fire Gregg." I mean, I don't think Patty Mahomes ever heard this in Arrowhead, fire Patty, or even Taylor Swift for that matter.
Andy Reid is actually fairly bulletproof in Kansas City. That's crazy stuff, yeah.
Well, and
so now who do we root for? I think we root for Uruguay now. I mean,
well,
because they're kind of the small country, or maybe Canada.
Well, Uruguay is really good, I think.
Yeah,
also.
maybe we root for Canada though. We need. The only reason I root, I mean, this is how I'm a soccer fan. I'll root for the countries. Find me a good story, and I'll root for it. The Canada story with Jesse Marsh,
great story. Uruguay now has to play Brazil, so good luck to that.
But such arch rivals, man. Uruguay. I mean, that'll be a blood match for them.
Well, and I mourn for Berhalter because, of course, he's a Tar. He was a UNC graduate, and I hate to say it, but he appears to be the Mack Brown of international soccer. I mean, if you can relate that, I'm sorry, Mac, throw you under the
bus. Good stuff.
There were a lot of other items in the World Cup, though, that were unrelated to the U.S. team. There was this really weirdness where teams were showing up late on the pitch. Did you read about this?
No.
Well, as a matter of fact, the coach,
blow the whistle.
the coach of Uruguay, Marcelo Bielsa, who's an international legend. He's like 65. He's been around forever. He was suspended for our game. He didn't coach our game because in the previous game, Uruguay didn't get to the pitch in time. They weren't in time, so they suspended him for the next game. This happened to 3 other coaches. The Italian coach.
Why don't you blow the whistle and throw the ball down there and say, go get him?
The Italian coach was eating pasta.
Well, the Italian coach, the Venezuelan coach, and the Argentina coach all got suspended for having their teams come late to the pitch. Can you imagine if that was a rule in U.S. basketball? Popovich, Pitino, Danny Hurley, if they got suspended for being late to the game, somebody's ass was going to be. Somebody's.
I've never heard of that happen.
Of course not. You think that they started doing that to those guys? Somebody's ass would be torn up.
For sure.
Guarantee you that.
All right. Empty your notebook on soccer, and we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about the sport he wants to talk about.
One more thing. The goal of the month in the Euros.
Yeah.
Was struck by Jade Bellingham, who's a star for England. I mean, England was about to go home. They're down 1-0. They're in suspended. What do they call that? Extra time. No, they call it stoppage time. Before extra time, stoppage time.
All right.
Bellingham made a bicycle kick. Into the top of the goal. It was unbelievable, fabulous goal. Saved them. Then in stoppage. Then in extra time, 50 seconds in, the other English star, Harry Kane, made a great header. So it was a great finish for England. So
not rooting for them. It's the 4th of July. We can't root for England. You can't root for anything English on the 4th of July.
Against all these other European teams, I think I'm rooting for England. Come on.
Portugal. I want to send Ronaldo out.
Bellingham, by the way, all the great British fans were booing their own team in the second half until Bellingham scored. And after the game, Bellingham
So is that where we learned it?
He saluted the British crowd, but classily, not with the middle finger, but with one of these. He did that, which is classy, right? They booed him the whole second half, and then he scores. That's great. I love the world. I love it.
The soccer's fun for all of what goes on around it, for sure. This is Under the Bus, brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks. I'm Bob Stevens, along with Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico. We'll be back. The NBA is making big news in the summertime. I mean, they're still keeping baseball off of our podcast, which I don't think I like.
That's coming.
But we'll get that. All right. We'll be back with that right after this. We welcome you back to Under the Bus, brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks. Again, hudsonsonthedocks.com is the website to go learn a little bit more, and then go you're going to have great seafood. And you're going to have, you go there at sunset, you're going to get a great sunset. That's just the way it goes. Bob Stevens along with Rich Basirico and Curry Kirkpatrick. All right, let's get to the hoops. NBA draft. We're going to work backwards on the draft. We're going to let's talk free agency first. And then we'll go back to the draft. Free agency, guys are getting, what did Tatum and Brown sign for over $600 million in contracts, and the team is now for sale for $6 billion because of that?
Do you think Tatum's worth that kind of money? I don't even think he's in the top 5 players in the NBA.
He isn't? You don't think
I don't think he is. I mean, I think he's probably in the top 10. I don't think he's in the top 5.
There are 9 guys right now. Today, there are 9 guys that are going to make over $50 million next year playing in the NBA, and Steph Curry's only one of them. He's the only one. Who's buying a ticket for the other 8? Maybe Jokic. He's one of the other ones, but that's
sure.
And Tatum's only 26. Yeah. And somebody said, by the age of 30, he'll be a billionaire. Forget millions, he'll be a billionaire.
But he's so inconsistent. I mean, when he brings his A game, he's terrific. But he doesn't always bring his A game. Many times, even in the playoffs, you have a great game. Then the next game he scores 12, and you don't even know he's on the floor.
Michael Jordan needs to come out of retirement because he'd get the contract even if he just sat on the bench.
They give him the team.
Of course, he had a team.
Right.
Yeah, he did a nice job of that.
Well, how about these guys? These guys who have changed teams though?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a real change here, a real strategic shift.
Yeah.
Paul George
that's a good one.
Goes from the West East to the 76ers. I'd like to know how the Clippers owner, Steve Ballmer, he's the richest guy in the NBA. Mm-hmm. He's richer than Spike Lee. Mm-hmm. He loses his best player to the Sixers because of money, because he wouldn't give him a 4th year. I mean, he's his best player. You got to give the guy a 4th year. He goes to Sixers now, and he's like their 3rd star, right? With Maxey and Embiid.
Correct.
And Dale Morey, Sixers, he loves stars. He's now got Paul George.
The East has gotten so much better because of that.
I think there's a pattern here. There's a pattern here. Why none of these guys are going to the Lakers? None of them want to play with LeBron.
Correct.
Paul George could have gone to the Lakers. Right. The next guy on our list,
Klay Thompson
could have gone to the Lakers.
Right.
Klay Thompson's father played in the NBA, played for the Lakers, won 2 championships. He's the radio guy.
Yeah.
He wanted him to go to the Lakers. In fact, afterward, he said he was disappointed, so he tried to urge him. I read where LeBron offered to give back money to get Klay Thompson.
Wow.
And LeBron never gives back anything, any money. But he supposedly, and Klay Thompson went, no, I'm not going there. I'm going to Dallas.
Well, why would you want to play with LeBron?
Well, and they say...
why would you play him? He runs the show. He runs the show all the time.
Well, because he's one of the great players in history.
I understand that, but he's still one player.
I know one guy wants to play with him. We'll get to him in a minute. Yeah. But Klay Thompson now goes, I read where he took a long time the last few months to look over, because he knew he was going to leave.
Right.
And he scouted all these teams, and he watched them, and he saw Dallas as a real contender.
Yeah.
And that's why he went there instead of Lakers, or what, he didn't want to play for a loser.
Right.
I mean, Dallas get down to that.
Dallas is going to be better, obviously, but Klay Thompson's lost some. He's lost a step. He doesn't shoot as well as he did.
Well, that's why he's only getting $50 million for 3
even
years.
even in his washed-up year,
He's only going to make $15 million a year, and these other guys are all making 50.
Well, even
crazy,
last year, when a lot of people said
money.
he was washed, he shot 39% from three, Rich. 39% from three. You know what Dallas shot in the playoffs from?
Well, that's why Dallas can use it for
unguarded
sure.
threes. They shot 18% in the playoffs. Unguarded threes. That's
But
Dallas.
he also, remember the game he had this year where he was 0 for 12?
He had some terrible games. Yeah, no question.
Yeah, he's up and down.
But is he a fit there? I wonder about not the athletic fit, but the personality fit. Because as we know, Clay is a big ocean guy, a water guy. Remember, I read he would go to the beach and write poetry about, when he wanted downtime, he'd go to the ocean. Well, there's no water in Dallas. There's no water there. And, and Clay, Kyrie's a flat earther.
When the new owner moves
He's
the
a
team
flat
to San
earther.
Diego.
No, they're not. But Kyrie's a flat earther.
The new owner's from Vegas.
And,
She's a gambling heir from Vegas. I mean,
If he's going to move who? Dallas?
move the Dallas team to San Diego.
Well, then he'll
then he
get
can
some
have his water.
He can have his water. And meanwhile, and Luka lives on the second floor. So I don't know how Klay Thompson's going to.
It's going to take a while. It's not just going to click right away. You watch Kyrie. It's all three of those guys need the ball in their hands, right? They need the ball in their hands. And I don't know if we don't know if it's a good fit or not.
But Klay plays off the ball.
Yes,
he doesn't
does.
want the ball to start with.
Does.
He can stand out there and Luka can throw it out to him and Kyrie. I think he's a fit there.
But do you think Luka's going to throw it to him often?
Yeah. Okay. He threw it to Kyrie, right?
Yeah. Well, that's two of them. That was the third. We'll see. We'll see.
The good thing is the NBA season is so freaking long that they got time to figure it out.
That's true.
They got a lot of time to figure it out. All right, let's talk about the draft.
What do you think?
No, go ahead.
Well, what do you think about Chris Paul going to play with Wembanyama?
Isn't it interesting that every team in the last couple of years, he's there a year and they want to get rid of him? He's lost a step or two. He's lost a step or two. But he might be a great fit in San Antonio.
75% of Chris Paul means he's going to lob the lob. He invented the lob pass, right? With Lob City and for the Clippers. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine how many dunks Wembanyama is going to get off lobs for Chris Paul?
That's a perfect fit.
Oh man, Popovich has always loved Chris Paul.
Right.
So he'll figure out a way to get him.
But he's going to be 40.
I'm going to bring up one more guy.
Okay.
Your Knicks.
Right.
They signed Mikal Bridges. Everything's going to be
it's Villanova all over again.
But then they lose Hartenstein.
Yeah.
They lose Hartenstein. Their center. That's a big hole. Rich,
I know it is a big hole, and that's the choice they made to take that money and sign. And they knew they were going to lose him. The disappointment is the Knicks didn't draft a center until the 58th pick.
Well, what centers are there other than Edey?
But I know, but they could have gotten somebody in the first round. They waited to the 58th pick and got some guy never heard of.
Haven't they got the kid with the funny name, the kid that played a lot last year off the bench? He's like 6'10". He's really a forward. He can play center for him. Well, Precious.
Yeah, but they're not signing.
They're stiffing him.
They're not signing.
They're stiffing.
No,
they're not signing with the Knicks.
Well, they don't have the money to sign all these guys. That's a chance they took, and now it's going to. But see, they don't really like a lot of rookies on their team. Look at their roster from year to year. He doesn't like rookies. He doesn't give them any. So these guys are just going to stash.
But do you
stash guys?
Do you remember? It was during the playoffs, I think, that Brunson said that Hartenstein is going to break the bank. He's going to break the bank. Well, he did. And did you see the tweet that Josh Hart tweeted? It was really sweet. It was really sweet. He said, "You dead to me. You dead to me, Zay. You dead to me, Zay." He said, "I never liked you anyways." but he said, "Congratulations on the bag." That's what these guys call it. Big money, the bag.
Well, he's making more money in 1 year at OKC than he made probably in his lifetime.
I think he'll be terrific for Oklahoma City.
He's good. He's only 26.
They're a real threat.
Oklahoma City's the best team in the West now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Of course, I'm gonna miss Hartenstein's smoking wife, that model Courtney Keller. She was all over page 6. I'm gonna miss her. Just to throw that in for you.
Just move to Oklahoma City.
Are the two French players that went 1-2? Are they going to be impact players first year?
The draft looked like the under 19 All-Stars, the Paris under 19 All-Stars. Well, the first guy, the two guys that were up, the first guy was Ray Sagnier, and then Sarr.
Right.
And so one's going to go Atlanta, one's going to go. Well, I thought it was neat that Sarr said that he didn't want to go to Atlanta.
Right.
He wanted to be a wizard. He wanted to go to Washington and be a wizard.
Who wants
who's the last guy to? Who's the last guy want to be a wizard? Harry Potter, probably.
Wes Unseld.
Harry Potter wanted to be a wizard.
Wes
in this
Unseld,
guy.
maybe.
I mean, but yeah, and then the draft turned into well. I think the Knicks draft basically turned out to be Bridges and Okanobi. I mean, they got them before the draft. I mean, they have two great wings now that can contest the Celtics guys.
Yes.
Right? Brown and Tatum.
Yes.
I mean, I think they had a. Of course,
no, they had a great.
That was a pre-draft. But I, like you, think that they might have gotten the steal of the draft in the Marquette point guard, Tyler Kolek.
He's terrific.
He
sees the
Remember
floor
when we were talking about the NCAA playoffs?
Right.
We thought he was the key player.
He's had
everywhere.
2 great seasons for Marquette. If it wasn't for Zach Edey, he was going to be in Player of the Year conversation both years. Mm-hmm. And he's played in the Garden.
He loves
the Garden. He knows all that stuff.
Right.
And he can.
It's a great fit for him.
He can substitute for Brunson.
Is Zach Edey that bad? I mean, he was the Player of the Year, not once but twice.
He got
drafted higher than people
and
thought.
Most people think it was a terrible pick for Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, nobody thinks he can play in the NBA. Can he play in the NBA?
I think he's too slow. I mean, he doesn't protect the rim. For a guy his size, he doesn't protect the rim like you think he would.
Okay.
He can score, but they don't. That game, NBA is not that game anymore. They don't put people on the block and kick it in. It's all perimeter.
Okay.
I think as far as bad choices, I'm not a. I think Reed Shepherd going number 3 to Houston. I'm not sure. And he's a great shooter, but Rich, isn't he small and he's not going to guard anybody?
Right. I think that was for number 3. I thought that was a reach. But they're in love with him. They think they're in love with him.
All right. Now, speaking of being in love, the basketball story that I think is going to dominate the next couple of weeks. The WNBA All-Stars against the U.S. Olympic team.
That's pretty cool.
An All-Star game coming up on the 20th in Phoenix. And so this is Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese's chance
to be together,
which is an interesting story in itself, and then to play against the Olympic team that didn't pick them.
Right.
I think that may be the most entertaining game we're going to see all summer in any sport.
And Angel and Caitlin can go like this to each other in the locker room. It'd be very cool.
I think we put the lockers next to each other.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, to get back to the NBA just briefly, if you want to,
I don't want to, but go ahead.
For all those guys that passed on playing with LeBron, they got a great player from Tennessee in the draft. I think their first choice, Dalton Knecht, from North Dakota. I mean, from a little town in North Dakota. And 3 years ago, he was playing for the Plainsmen of Northeastern Junior College. And now what was he, the sixth pick or no?
He's 17. He was predicted to be number 6.
I think he went way too low.
Too low.
I'm stunned the Lakers got him.
That was a good. That was a great pick.
Well, you know what the red flag? They talk about the red flags. The red flag with Dalton Knecht was his age. Because he's 23 years old. He's 23 years old. And the NBA hates anybody that's over 18.
It drives me crazy.
Are we getting that in the presidential race? But that's another story.
The Knicks, they're always talking about, well, he's only 18. He's only 19. What does that mean if he can't play? I know they're saying, well, we'll develop him. But look at this guy. His arm length is this long, and he's 18 years old.
Well, that's your favorite word in the NBA draft. Development, right?
Development. They hate anybody over 18. They're terrified of it. But this
can the guy play? Can he play?
He's a great player.
I know
he's
he
a
is.
Great shooter.
So at 23, so what if he's 23? So he plays for 8 years. So you can't keep him for 8 years.
At 30, he's going to be an all-star. I think. Before that, maybe.
Of course.
Rich, he's a terrific shooter. Outside, he's 6'6".
Right.
Outside, he shoots like he plays like he's 6'3" outside, and inside he plays like he's 6'9".
Yeah.
The guy is really. He's terrific.
Yeah.
And he's 23, and they treat him like he's Joe Biden or somebody. I mean, he's too old.
That age thing is crazy.
You know who else led the Lakers to championships out of North Dakota? Phil Jackson.
That's right. Phil Jackson.
From there, we go to break.
With the triangle offense, which no one can figure out.
Back to that.
Another red flag for NBA teams is women, is their relationship with women. This is a great story.
This baby's going off the rails here.
No. I give you Kyle Filipowski.
Yes.
You may remember him.
Yes.
7-footer from Duke. He got smashed. He couldn't get out of the way of the Wake Forest crowd. They blasted him. He became a national figure.
That's right.
Well, he's now a Duke man. It turns out that his relationship, really sweet relationship, with a girl named Caitlin Hutchinson. They were high school sweethearts.
I thought she's much older. I thought she's much older than he is.
That's what I'm going to say. That's why the red flag. Apparently, she was 23 in his prom picture. Wait a minute. She's 5-6 years older than Filipowski. This is where the red flags went up. What is this deal?
So that's why he wasn't drafted, because his girlfriend's old?
No,
Didn't we always take younger girls to the prom?
But you guys.
Back in the day?
It's not just that. Filipowski's family is estranged from Kyle
because of her.
They say the girl went and she was a gold digger from the start. She was gold digging before he even got to Duke. And she forced him to have this estrangement with his family.
Wow.
What was the word? His mother and his brother tweeted this when he was picked. She said that the girlfriend has been grooming him, and they're total estrangement.
Wow.
And that put up these red flags for NBA team. Wait a minute. What is this? He's dating this 5 years older woman who's
so age becomes a factor again. Age becomes a factor. Now it's not the player who's too old.
And somebody's too old. Now the girlfriend's too old.
Which, if you were a GM, I'd have thoughts about this. The kid is estranged from his family because of his girlfriend. The great thing is he's going to Utah.
Oh, it's
in
perfect.
Mormon country. The Mormons say, bring it on. Maybe he'll get married a second time or a third time and have 3 wives. Three wives. Bring it on, boy. You go.
Boy, now that we've offended them too, let's go to break. On our podcast, Under the Bus, we still got more. There'll be more people going under the bus.
More draft picks.
Oh, yeah. Maybe even more draft picks. All of that coming when we come back on Under the Bus, brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks. Welcome back to Under the Bus. Bob Stevens along with Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico. We are sponsored by Hudson's on the Docks. I thought we were done with the NBA draft. We are not. There's still more. Well, you guys got great picks. You got people you want to throw under the bus.
Well, the Milwaukee Bucks, I think, had the worst draft. I mean, they need, they won this championship several years ago, and they have 2 veterans, Chris Middleton, Charleston, South Carolina, and the Greek Freak.
Right.
They're getting old. They need to add. And to keep up with the rest of the East, with the Celtics and Philadelphia and New York, they draft 18-year-old A.J. Johnson from Australia.
No, nobody ever heard of this guy.
I never heard of him. And when they brought him up, I thought he was still in high school. I mean, he looks like he's...
he was sitting there, Rich, he was sitting in the stands with his parents, right? Because they thought he wasn't old enough to sit.
He can't help them now. There's no way. The Bucks need somebody that can come in and play right now with the 2 guys I just mentioned. They're the team that's going to be going the other way in the East, don't you think?
Yeah, because Philly's going to go up, and
New York's going to go up.
Yeah.
Indiana's going to is getting better. Of course, Boston.
I said I didn't like Houston's picking number 3. I also didn't like the Chicago Bulls. They drafted 11th or something like that. They drafted a guy named Mateus Buzelis. If that sounds familiar, it's because this guy has been around forever. He's a Lithuanian kid that grew up in the south side of Chicago. So he trash talks like he's a Chicago kid. But listen, this kid, I've been hearing about this kid for a long time.
Really?
Listen to schools he went to, basketball specialty schools. He went to one in Hinsdale, Illinois. Then he went to Wolfboro, New Hampshire, Brewster. Then he went to some place called Sunrise Christian in Bel Air, Kansas. He went to all these.
That's the red flag.
Then he went to the G League Ignite. And he's still only 19. I don't understand it. And he's 19, so they love him. But, I mean, he was going to come to the NBA last year. Wow. I remember his name floated around. He was going to go in the first round last year. His name floated around. Apparently, he wanted more preparation. All those schools weren't enough for him.
Did he go to school? Does he have a high school diploma?
He needs to go to Arkansas and play for Calipari for a year. Well, you got another Calipari.
Well, the great thing, the Bulls he's going to wear 00 for the Bulls. 00. which is only good because my boy Cody White, Carolina guy, he wears single zero. So they got a bunch of zeros there. So it's simpatico. If you look at Cody White, he's simpatico there.
Well, can I talk about Calipari?
Why not?
So he
already brought Calipari.
He has 2 picks in the top 8, number 3 and number 8. Now remember, the top 2 are international guys, and I think the number 5 guys are international guy. He can't get past the first round of the NCAA playoffs with 2 of the top 8 guys in the draft. And he also had a guy drafted in the second round. So in his career, he has 41 first-round picks, 27 in the top 5, and 4 number 1 picks overall.
27 in the top 5. He could live. Arkansas shouldn't have to pay him at all.
And how many
he should just get 1%
I mean, think of the players he's had over the years.
Rich, I think your contract with Under the Bus only pays you if you mention California. Every week he's the guy under there. He's so flattened out with those tires.
You have 2 of the top 8 guys, and they can't win one. I'm not saying win the national championship. Maybe you could, should. But here's the worst part of all that. Those 2 guys, number 3 and number 8, right? They started between them, only started 6 times this year.
So they didn't even start for it. Well, that's why they didn't win. What kind of coach is he if he doesn't see that kind of talent, right?
You're talking about Shepard and Dillingham, who went to Minnesota. And Dillingham's the most explosive guy in the draft.
And that's a great pick for Minnesota.
And they also got the kid from Shannon from Illinois. So those 2 guys are sharpshooters, and they're going to help the Ant-Man. I mean, they're going to have a battle for highlight reels every night.
Would be unbelievable, don't you think?
With those 2 guys,
Dillingham,
I also thought, I mean, nobody's mentioned this, but San Antonio, I thought, had a great draft. The guys they're putting on Wimbledon, they drafted Stephen Castle from the Champions, Connecticut.
That's terrific.
Who early played everywhere, terrific guard. Everybody wanted him. Everybody says he might start for any team in the league, and he's going to be with Wimbledon now.
Right.
And their second choice was, of course, my Carolina guy, Harrison Ingram, who's 6'7", but his rebound, especially his rebounding, I think is really. Those 2 guys, and now Chris Paul's coming in. He can teach. One thing Castle lacks is shooting, and Chris Paul can teach him that mid-range dart that he throws.
Well, Chris Paul, the veteran he is, he will help that team tremendously.
And the 2 drafts, Ingram and Castle, Wimbledon is going to love these guys, I think.
So Popovich stays interested for a while.
There's talking about coaching and having players.
Unless they charge him for being late, having the team late, and Popovich gets suspended a game. So that'll be nice on that one.
Have we talked at all really about the 55th pick in the draft? The Los Angeles Lakers select.
That's an embarrassment for the NBA, I think.
Nepo Baby.
He has no business being.
No wonderful Nepo Baby. He and I love now. The latest thing came out last week was that Rich Paul, no relation to Chris Paul, right?
No.
Rich Paul apparently called around the league and said, "Don't draft Bronny. If you draft Bronny, he's going to Australia." Wow. Did you hear that? That was the guy.
But no one was going to draft him. Honestly, nobody was going to draft him. No. Had no interest in drafting.
Well, he didn't go until really, really late.
Right, but they could have signed him as a free agent if they chose to.
What is the? I don't think anybody thought, especially Brown. What is the best thing for the kid? What if he?
Go back to college.
What if he makes the team, which he won't? He's going to play in the G League. But what if he? Just think of the pressure every game around. They're going to, the press is going to be all Bronny and LeBron every game they play, which they won't play a lot. I'm assuming.
Well, if he plays a lot, they're in trouble.
So and in the press conference the other day, J.J. Redick, the new coach of the Lakers, came out and said that Bronny earned this. He earned this.
You mean the contract is what you're talking about?
He earned a spot. He earned a spot in the NBA. He earned the spot to be drafted number 55.
Right.
No, he didn't.
Right. Correct.
He also said Bronny is the first guy in our dedication to developmental holistically. What?
What does that mean?
Developmental holistically. That is such Duke bullcrap. I mean, come on.
Well, here's the funny thing about that. He's talked about he has a guaranteed contract.
Right.
Okay? And he came out, JJ came out and said, Bronny has earned this through hard work. He just got drafted last Friday. Where's the hard work? So he went into and started working out on Saturday or Sunday, Monday. Today is Wednesday. He came out Tuesday. So in essence, At max, he's worked out 3 days. At max for JJ.
He worked hard for
3 days, and you get a
yeah.
contract after 3 days of hard work.
How many value meals is he going to be buying for his G League teammates
Well, let's
with his contract and what they're going to be making?
I mean, yeah, let's point out. I mean, you know, this is nepotism pure and simple.
Course.
But you know, he was drafted number 55 in the draft. I mean, let's point out, if he was Bronny Bozo, he's not going to be drafted anywhere. He'd not be drafted. He's not going to make the.
He wouldn't even be signed as a free agent.
Yeah. Who was drafted number 56? Kevin McCullough Jr. from Kansas.
By the Knicks.
By the Knicks. He's 10 times the player Bronny
Correct.
Bozo, right?
Correct.
At least.
Absolutely.
I mean, Kevin McCullough was mentioned for Player of the Year a couple
Right.
times.
Until he got hurt.
Until he got hurt.
And he's not going to have a guaranteed contract. He's not.
You know, and then Woj, your boy Woj, goes on ESPN and he rants.
I've never met him.
He rants against people calling out nepotism. He says nepotism has been alive and well in the NBA for years, every level. But he said it's white nepotism because they're in the front office. There's all this nepotism in front office. But he goes on this rant and says it's only because people are against LeBron that they bring up nepotism. What are you kidding me? It's just. Of course, Giannis has had his brother playing for the Milwaukee Bucks for 5 years. Of course, nobody knows it because he never plays. But pointing out there's that nepotism. Yeah.
So it's already been there.
Listen, this would be the greatest, sweetest, most wonderful story in the history of the world. Daddy plays with son. If it wasn't so disgustingly contrived, it just would be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Griffies didn't. Right. That was just natural, right? It wasn't this.
And they were terrific. Both of them
were
good.
really good. Yeah, I mean,
Junior was unbelievable.
Junior was fabulous. Yeah.
But I mean, it would be if it wasn't so planned and contrived. It would be a great story. I go back to Rich Paul's girlfriend Adele.
Yeah.
I said this last week, but one of her famous songs is "Rolling in the Deep." Only she forgot the last word, doo-doo. Because the Lakers are rolling in deep doo-doo with this whole thing.
It's an embarrassment for the league, I think. I really do. I think it's an embarrassment for the league for that stuff to go on.
All right. We do need to mention baseball because it is baseball season. I got two quick things.
Okay.
First of all, we have not talked yet, and there's probably not much to say about the baseball coach at Texas A&M, Jim Schlossnagle, coaching in the championship game and then berating a reporter for asking him if he's moving to Texas, and then moving to Texas the next day. The arch rival Longhorns. I want tickets to that first series.
Everybody's throwing that guy in. Everybody threw immediately.
So he knew going into the World Series he was going to Texas.
Sure he did. Well, because his new athletic director, Trev Alberts, there's a name we hadn't heard of in a while.
Hopefully
from Nebraska, tells him, if you think you can do better, I mean, if you see a better situation, go for it. And Schlossnagle took that as saying, I don't think you're such a big deal. If you go. I'll find somebody else.
Exactly.
So that's kind of the backstory to all of that, according to Schlossnagle. But
one last thing I've got on Major League Baseball.
Yes.
If we go to Major League, my team is the Cardinals, of course.
Yes.
They have two pitchers in the All-Star game, which is that's never happened before. The Cardinals, one is the starter, been around for a long time, Sonny Gray.
Yep.
But our relief pitcher, Ryan Helmsley. Hell's Bells. His nickname is Hell's Bells. You got to love that. Right. He has 30 saves. Wow. That's five more than anybody in baseball. 30 saves. Yeah, he leads. Yeah. He's from Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and he's a member of the Cherokee Nation.
Good.
As well.
A lot of people in Tahlequah is the capital of the Cherokee Nation.
Hell's Bells.
There you go.
Sonny Gray, he did well for the Yankees when he pitched for them. He was good.
Yeah, we'll get into the Yankees next week.
2 weeks. That's the only team yet.
Speaking of your Cardinals, let's spend just a quick moment with a Cardinal legend who passed this past week, Orlando Cepeda, who I was actually looking up the numbers. Would the Giants have been better off actually trading Willie Mays than Orlando Cepeda. The numbers are actually fairly comparable. Mays actually, from the time of the trade, Mays was actually a little better than Cepeda was. But Cepeda, for those 2 years, he was the Cardinals. He was there.
He won the World Championship.
Yep.
He won it all.
He won a World Series. They lost a World Series with him. And then he went to Atlanta and had a couple of good years.
Yeah.
And then he had bad years and finished with the Red Sox. Had one good year as a DH. But what a the baby bull. He could play.
All these legends passing.
It's the greatest living player now could be either Ken Griffey Jr., who we just mentioned, or Ricky Henderson. A lot of people think might be.
Or Sandy Koufax. Why do you keep passing on Sandy Koufax? For 5 years, he's the greatest pitcher ever lived.
Unfortunately, Sandy is probably about next. But I would never tell him that.
I think Junior.
He's 85 and could still pitch tomorrow, probably.
One more thing. Yes. Wimbledon Open this week.
Yes, let's talk about
Wimbledon Open this week,
quick.
And the only thing anybody's talking about
number one seed
is the number one seed in the women. I hadn't heard of her last year when she won Wimbledon. Haven't heard of her since, and I may not hear from her ever again. I mean, Vondrousova, I don't know who that is, and I follow tennis. But on the men's side, Andrei Rublev, number 6 seed, a Russian, who's kind of a weirdo. I mean, he's becoming the John McEnroe. He wants to be, he's always screaming and yelling and screaming and doing weird things. In the French, a couple of weeks ago, he smashed himself with a racket, almost had to withdraw. The other day, he plays his first round at Wimbledon. He's a set all. It's the third set. He loses a break. He goes nuts. He takes his racket and he smashes his knee with his racket as hard as he can, 7 times. Everybody counted. Boom, 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 7 times. You guys, if we'd have smashed our knee 1 time, as hard as he hit his knee, he'd be out.
And as bad as our knees are.
He survived 7 times. He lost the match.
Oh, he lost the match.
Oh, yeah. 7 times on his knee. He somehow makes it to the press conference. They ask him, "What are you hitting your knee for 7 times?" He said, "Well, they won't allow us to hit our racket on the grass," which is true. We get a point penalty if we hit on the grass, so I hit my knee. I mean, he might be my favorite player now. Andrei Rublev.
That was his motivation.
All right, somebody to watch, but not at Wimbledon because he's lost. He's done. Guys, it's been interesting. We've talked very little baseball. We're getting closer to the baseball season, though. It's going to start happening. Hopefully my Guardians will still be in first place when it does.
They're doing well. They're doing very well. The Yankees are going the opposite way.
The Yankees aren't even in first place anymore.
Nope. And they lost again last night. Their pitching's going down the drain.
Tough time.
Well, they should have kept Sonny Gray.
If you would have pitched well, they would have kept all stuff.
Let's all repair to Hudson's on the docks and discuss that further and have a cocktail after all of this. We want to thank Justin and Trey and Mahogany for getting us this far. Maybe they'll get us to the end. I certainly hope so. For Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico, I'm Bob Stevens. Let's all spend some time this 4th of July under the bus.
Happy 4th.
Under the Bus is a production of the Loco Media Network and is filmed on the Hilton Head Island campus of the University of South Carolina, Beaufort. The executive producer is Justin Jarrett with assistance from Trey Ramsey, Mahogany Hickman, and Adam Carroll.